Welcome back to Ferris Sports Update. Today we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the 1995 Ferris State University football team that reached the national semifinals, which at the time was the highest finish in school history. We're joined now by John Smith, who is the play-by-play man for the 1995 Bulldogs on the radio, and obviously I know brings back some great memories being a part of that team.
Yeah, it was an excellent group of players, and this is Ferris's fourth appearance consecutive in the NCAA, winning the MIFC at least a number of those years, including 95. It was pretty much a shared situation in 92, the first time they made it, but Ferris had hit full stride at this point. Bill Love came on as a quarterback and was number 2 in the voting for the Harlan Hill that year, and that's just the quarterback. Depth and strength all across the roster. Not as dominating a defense as the first time they made the playoffs, but regardless, they had all kinds of firepower, running and passing, so real thrilled to call all of those games.
I know many great games during that season. Started off with a win over Ashland, had a big win over Grand Valley at home, and then a couple big playoff wins as well. What maybe stands out from that season for you?
Ashland was always tough, and that was a close game, a home game. I mean, a lot of these places were kind of snake pits to go into. Ferris got into the MIFC and would play in Ohio and Indiana, and some of these places were tougher than others. Grand Valley had made the playoffs the year before, opened with the team that beat them, Indiana, but came into Ferris winning 3 straight, and it was a 30-21 game. They had a quarterback they picked up from Eastern. I mean, that worked for Ferris 25 years later with Reggie Bell. They had a guy named Kwame McKinnon. Close game, but Ferris wins it 30-21. Not all of these wins that got at Ferris all the way to the national semifinal were blowouts. It was a 7-point win over Ashland, a 9-point win over Grand Valley, a sweet win over Grand Valley regardless. The year before they'd played Grand Valley and it was on regional television, and Ferris won down there. So these were times just like the anchor bones of last week, and if it had been played in the years previous, Ferris had the number on Grand Valley. The next year, Grand Valley beats Ferris's unbeaten streak, stops it at Grand Valley, but regardless, any win over the Lakers suffices unto itself, and good games going right on down the stretch for Ferris. Some hearty wins, like winning 56-14 over Northwood, 50-0 over Indianapolis, but they could put up points, and it was just a matter of whether the other team could come in and present any kind of offense to stop Ferris.
Of course, one of the big games that people remember, largest comeback in Division II football history, the Snow Bowl against Saginaw Valley State in 1995, and Chris Pulliams caps it with a 97-yard touchdown run with 3 minutes left.
An amazing day because there was no snow. I had come in living in Grand Rapids to sign on the radio station where I worked, and there was no snow, but there was good 4 inches on the ground before we got to the point of Pulliams' great run. Looking at the video we have here, Saginaw Valley goes out 28-0 in the game and leads 35-7 at the half before Ferris picks up stride. Obviously, there are turnovers in the course of the contest, that kind of thing, and Ferris got a stop on, I'm trying to remember if it was at the end of the game or not. Some of these things are difficult, but I remember Keith Thompson, defensive back from Okemos, a safety, making a big play down the stretch. When Pulliam scores, I'm thinking he scored too fast because his 97-yard run is with about 2:57 to go. And it's the type of game where you're thinking the last team with the ball has the chance to win the game because of the trading in scores. But, yeah, it was incredible weather. It really kind of stopped snowing in the course of the contest. Looking at the video that we've got here, there's a run up the gut, and that should be Pulliams for a score. Benny Rowe, the fullback, I know, had at least 1 touchdown in the game. A great running combo. Rowe had gone through a lot of personal tragedy that season, losing one of his parents to illness, but regardless, he was on the field and on the go, and a true captain to that offense. An incredible group of guys who, got a kick in the head that day early on in that game, but took it, resolved their way to win that contest. And Grand Valley was closer to being a playoff team that year at 8-3. Saginaw Valley ended the season 7-3, but Ferris swept the map and went on to beat a couple of teams from out east, Millersville and New Haven, to set their course to go down and play at the Shoals against North Alabama.
Of Of course, North Alabama, the national semifinal game, and the traditional side of the Division II football championship for so many years. What was it like being part of that trip, that playoff run, and having a chance, obviously, to go down there and play against one of the top teams in college football?
Testament to organization and chicanery, really, I would say, because we got down there and got in our hotel, and old ladies from Florence, Alabama, where North Alabama is, were coming up to tell us about Cody Gross, their quarterback. I mean, they didn't talk about Ronald McKinnon, who went on to have like a 10-year career in the NFL at linebacker, but Cody Gross was somebody they liked. They liked all the guys, including the 13 extra scholarships that they had beyond NCAA rules that certainly helped them be strong. But they had a lot going on. Bill Love had a tough day there, a couple of picks in that game, but it was a steamroller to go down and face North Alabama. They had, I believe, won a national title prior to, and then Ferris played them in the semifinal. Northern Colorado was the '96 champion. Really, '96 was a year where if a couple of things had broken Ferris's way, we may not have gotten to 2018 being that first chance for the final, much less the title.
Of course, that 90s stretch, so many good teams in there, a 42-game unbeaten streak that was a conference record at the time, and this 1995 team coached by Jeff Pierce, who was in his first season after being a longtime assistant.
It was a testament to the organization that Ferris had, Keith Otterbein, and that Jeff was very much a big part of. But those guys were finding players out of small schools, not that Muskegon Oak Ridge was that small, but David Nelson was on the '95 team, as was Larry Pierce. There are guys, if you go up and down the hall, I didn't go look at the Hall of Fame placards in the hallway at Wink and in the Abel Glaben Sports Complex today, but I went and looked at the team roster. The guys that were there that were red shirts, like Matt McCarthy, who was waiting his chance after Bill Love, Neil Mosier, who was a record-receiving player, Kelly Snell was a young player on that team. The guys they were finding from White Cloud and other small schools, it was a testament to Dwayne Wilson, other coaches. Mike Cavanaugh was a guy who's still coaching in Division I football, was part of that team. And, of course, Butch Jones, who was a Ferris graduate, really getting himself established in coaching before he went on to coach at Central and at Cincinnati and at Tennessee. Just the depth and the strength of what Ferris had going on at that time. You know, it's nice to be part of a stacked hand, and that was a very well-stacked hand of lots of talent on the sidelines helping the field go well and the execution of all those games.
Of course, that 1990s era for Ferris State football really set the stage for what's happened here in the recent years. That was an era and a 1995 team that really lives on here in Ferris State football history.
Sure, Jeff Pierce was in his first year, but it was another 15 before the reins left Jeff's hands and went on to Tony Anise. And now, you know, all the cards fall well, we get 15 out of Tony. And that would be wonderful because certainly it's been great to watch what's gone on the last several years with the Harlan Hill winners in Vanderlaan and J. Rue Campbell, and just the level of talent. The guys I was mentioning, Neil Mosier, Brian Busen was a guy who came up from Rockford. He coached a number of years at Cedar Springs. This is just part of the depth and strength. There's all kinds of guys who are coaching. Ryan Call came in after all of this and played in your earliest days 20 years ago, and he's coaching on the east side of the state. Just the people who are still making football great at the high school level now, much less college, that were here and got their experience with this program. Yeah, it's a strong hand to run. I went to a Big Ten school I won't bother naming. There's no reason to spend the cash when you can come and see the quality by just coming up the hill to Top Taggart to see what's been going on here, coming on to 30 years now.
Great memories from the 1995 team. John, thanks for being with us, and we congratulate the 95 Bulldogs on a great run to the national semifinals. We'll be back with more Ferris Sports Update right after this.